We are gathered here to decide if this person is the a-hole or not. Am I the a-hole for walking out on a dinner with my husband's sister and her boyfriend? How much drama can go around one dinner? Like, how is there a whole story about this? It's gotta be a big deal. So my husband is the youngest in his family. I'm 34 female and he is 32 male. We've been married for a little less than a year now, but I noticed his eldest sister, 37 female, is super difficult and controlling. My husband has warned me about her, let's call her Haley, ever since we met. And he was even super nervous before he introduced me to her. I made sure to be super nice and courteous and we hit it off, especially that we realized we know a lot of the same people from our similar field of work. Over time, I noticed Haley's toxic behavior with her siblings, especially with my husband, since he's extremely peaceful and non-confrontational. She would disrespect him a lot, give unsolicited comments. She even keeps commenting about how much attention he gives me and how she thinks we are super codependent and that he needs to give me less attention. Okay. Hello? I love that I'm mad at my own doing. I promise you, no one else in this world is more annoyed by me than me, okay? So if you ever think I'm annoying, I agree. We are not codependent at all. We just really enjoy hanging out with each other and prefer doing things together. Yesterday, Haley and her boyfriend were visiting. She lives in another country and she wanted us all to meet him for the first time. My husband was with them by himself for an hour or so, and while his brother, his wife, and I were on the way to meet them, my husband kept texting me saying he felt like a third wheel and they weren't really involving him in the conversation. We finally get there and we meet them and we are deciding where to have dinner. We quickly noticed how chaotic Haley was acting, ordering us around to call restaurants and check for bookings to go this way or that way to hurry up because it was late and we needed to eat. My husband, Haley, and boyfriend and I were all sharing a car and my husband was driving to the restaurant. We were chatting and it was normal until Haley decided to make fun of my husband and his slow driving and kept being super annoying to hurry up and go faster. She even kept interrupting her boyfriend when he was telling stories to tell my husband to hurry up. Then, when the brother and his wife called to say they had arrived and we still had 15 minutes to get there, Haley went full-blown bully, kept disrespecting my husband in front of the boyfriend, and my husband was trying his best to just bite his tongue. It was so obvious that we all got so uncomfortable, especially the boyfriend who kept saying, "It's okay guys that we're taking longer, we're enjoying the conversation." The last straw for me was when we got to the area and it was so crowded and my husband was trying to make a U-turn to get to the restaurant. And Haley told him to stop here so she and her boyfriend can get out and walk to the restaurant before we go and find parking. And my husband couldn't stop because there were cars moving all around. She threw a tantrum and kept berating my husband for not being able to stop on the spot when she wanted him to. It ruined the whole mood. Eventually, my husband stopped a little further down the road and they stepped out. I'm not one to bite my tongue. When you're being disrespectful, especially one of my siblings, yeah, no, we're about to have a conversation about it, for sure. Luckily, I have wonderful siblings. And this isn't something that really happens. It definitely has in our lifetime, but like, not really in adulthood. I was so upset and almost tearful walking into the restaurant, and my husband kept calming me down, saying it doesn't matter and he doesn't care what she says. I told him she ruined our mood and is being disrespectful, and I'm not going to mask being happy so that she can have a fun night. We sat at the table and we were obviously in a bad mood, and Haley turned to my husband and said, "Are you guys okay?" And he says, "Yes, we're just tired and hungry." She noticed how I'm not engaging in the conversation at all, and she turns to my husband and says, quote, "If you guys don't want to be here, no one is forcing you. You can leave. We came here to have a good time." I turn to her and say, "What did you say to my husband?" She says, "I was telling him how if you guys don't want to be here, I don't want to force you. You can leave." And I say, "Personally, yes, I don't want to be here and I will leave." My husband then says to the group, "Okay guys, we're heading out. Enjoy the rest of the dinner. It was a pleasure meeting you, boyfriend." And we walk out. My husband agrees with me that she was out of line, but he hates being in any kind of conflict and is stressed out about the situation. I feel like setting boundaries is very important, even if it means having to be in a fight or whatever. Was I the a-hole for instigating walking out and causing a rift between my husband and his sister and making her look bad in front of her boyfriend? Okay, but like, you weren't instigating the walking out. The sister looked at you and said, "You don't have to be here, you can leave." Technically, she instigated you guys leaving. Let's see what the people of Reddit are saying, but so far, you guys let me know, because obviously this fight continues because there's a lot of updates. Someone commented, "Not the a-hole. She disrespected your husband repeatedly in public in front of her boyfriend and expected you both to just sit there and take it. You didn't ruin dinner. Her attitude did. Good for you for standing up for your husband when he wouldn't defend himself. Hopefully this makes her realize she can't keep disrespecting him without consequences." OP wrote back and said, "Yeah, I wish I did more, to be honest, from when the whole car thing was happening. But anyways, I told my husband he needs to talk to her about how she treats him and tell her that this time, if she does it again, he will be removing himself from the situation instead of just taking it." Next comment. She was testing her brother's boundaries in front of her boyfriend to show dominance. You called her bluff. Now her boyfriend knows exactly what she's like, and your husband knows what it feels like to be defended. It's a win-win. OOP wrote back, "Funny thing is, literally the same day over lunch, she was talking about how she hates toxic masculinity and how she had to adopt aggressive tactics at work so that people can take her seriously, and that's why she's still not married, because men don't like tough women." Who's gonna tell her? Guys, that was in the script. I didn't just say that. Next comment. "I also feel bad for the boyfriend that he sees that in her. Also, you guys need to cut her out of your life. She is a crazy bitch who thinks the world revolves around her. Just don't become her doormat and tell her who is boss in this city. You are not her servants. You have your own life, and tell your husband to spin up. It is time to stand up for himself and for both of us. His respect is your respect. Tell him you didn't want anything to do with his sister who didn't respect other people's wishes." OOP responded and said, "My husband will never agree to cutting out his own family. My husband is a very peaceful human being, so he literally is prioritizing keeping a relationship with his sister over respecting his own boundaries. I'm trying to navigate this without crossing any lines." Ooh, I would have a hard time with that. If my partner's siblings were disrespectful to him or to anyone or to me, that is really tough because that is their family. But also you're like, but they're my family, as in like husband is my family. I love him. We have the first update, which came 6 days later, Halloween, October 31st, 2025. Everyone told me that I had the right to walk out and she was being extremely rude, which made me feel sane because sometimes I feel like I'm crazy with my reactions to very obvious instances of disrespect that the whole family just seems to brush off. Anyways, after the incident, I talked to my husband and I told him that I will not tolerate disrespect from Haley and what she did was extremely out of line. I also told him that it is extremely upsetting when she disrespects him, and while I understand his stance on being the bigger person, a line needs to be drawn with her. He agreed and said he would talk to her. The next day, they had a day planned with the boyfriend, which I thankfully apologized from before this whole thing happened. My husband's brother, Jay, called him before the outing and we all discussed what happened. Jay tried to explain how Haley doesn't have bad intentions, etc. And I told him that I never said Haley was malicious. I just think as adults, when someone is disrespectful, the bare minimum is to acknowledge and apologize. After a long back and forth, they agreed that Jay will ask Haley to have a conversation about what happened with Jay present before going to their thing they had planned. And I told him I don't think I should be part of that conversation since I'm not part of the family, and I personally wouldn't want to initiate the conversation with her. When I saw my husband after, he told me the conversation went very well and that she was super receptive and empathetic. She apologized to my husband husband, and she told him she was very worried that I judged her negatively based on this incident. My husband told her that you can talk to her about it. She's a very understanding and empathetic person and will hear you out. I was happy for my husband, but very skeptical. Honestly speaking, and knowing how narcissists think, she only apologized to my husband and acted understandably because she didn't want me to judge her further. Anyways, I told my husband, of course, she can talk to me anytime. I waited and she never reached out. My husband hinted at me initiating and I freaked out on him, telling him in what world does it make sense for me to initiate this talk? If she has a pride problem, then it's her problem. Fast forward to yesterday, which was her last day, after a long day at work where I finished at 7:30 p.m., my husband tells me they are having a family dinner at their parents' at 8 p.m. to say goodbye to Haley. I told him that I don't have the mental capacity for that right now, especially knowing that there might be back and forth with Haley, and especially not knowing how she plans to bring it up or decides to deal with it, considering her pride issue. I texted in the family group chat that I apologized for not being able to make it today, and I wished Haley safe travels. My husband goes without me, and apparently Haley brings up the fact that I didn't come, and they all have to talk about it. As I expected, Haley is now saying that she doesn't think she was rude to me at all, and she has no reason to apologize to me. I could have guessed that. My husband tells her that she was in fact rude and she in fact does need to apologize. Haley suddenly twists the narrative and talks about how since the day she has met me, she has been trying to build a relationship with me, but I don't reciprocate. No idea what she's talking about here, since I'm the one who pushes my husband to give her attention, and I'm the one who pushed that instead of getting her generic flowers for her birthday this year, that we should all pitch in and get her a personal antique item that she would enjoy. Besides, this argument has nothing to do with the main issue. Anyways, long story short, I know I've been petty with not initiating and now not going to the dinner, but I think it's a matter of principle. Also, I told my husband that if she doesn't want to reach out and talk, then that is something she's deciding, and I won't try to solve this issue for her. Am I the a-hole? I'm with you. No, not the a-hole? What do you mean? I'm surprised, bless you for even coming on Reddit and asking if you're the a-hole in this situation. Well, you guys, let me know what you're thinking. Let's see what people of Reddit are deciding. Someone commented, "You are not the a-hole here. Not going to the goodbye dinner was actually very responsible of you. There had been no contact and no conversation with Haley. If you went, either there would have been a confrontation or you would have been made to feel even worse by Haley and her narcissistic attitude towards the entire situation. Haley has left and you really shouldn't give her any more brain space. She is not worth it." Yeah, I guess thank God she lives in another country, right? OOP said, "I'm really glad I didn't because I know myself, and that day I was so emotionally drained. I'm sure if she tried pulling something, I would have overreacted and caused a scene. And knowing narcissists, that's exactly what she wants. She will twist the narrative and be like, see, your wife is unhinged and completely insane. I have dealt with a narcissistic mother my whole life, and I know their ways, and I'm not giving her any ammunition." Next comment. I agree, and while I understand why OP chose not to attend the dinner, I do feel like it was to her detriment, as it seems that anytime she isn't present, the sister is going to villainize her. If OP isn't there, there won't be much, if any, pushback to that characterization of OP, so I feel like she needs to be there to stand up for herself when this kind of thing happens. Otherwise, I worry she risks the sister's nonsense opinions of her seeping into the rest of the family's subconscious, even if they otherwise know better. Interesting. So this person's saying the opposite and saying that she should have gone, but for very different reasons. OOP responded to that and said, I have been subjected to a smear campaign before by a narcissist, and I know it is not limited to being there physically to defend yourself. She will tarnish my reputation if she wants to, whether it was in family dinners or one-on-one phone calls. I can't be there in every instance to defend myself. My goal right now is not to give her anything substantial to use in any smear campaign. Next comment, there's a difference between avoiding conflict and letting people treat you badly. Does he stand up for himself in other situations, or is it just a problem with his sister? Valid question. I'm curious. OOP wrote and said, just with his family, to be honest. With others, he doesn't take anything. It's like he's being conditioned to believe that family is above normal human beings. I feel like we see that often. People often excuse behavior from family members because they're like, oh, well, it's family. Yeah, I don't see it that way. Respect is respect. I don't care who you are in position, in title to my life. Respect is respect. We got more updates, so I guess the drama continues, but let's hydrate first because we all need a sip of water today, okay? Cheers. I'm very thirsty. I gotta know, have you guys started Christmas shopping yet? And if not, when do you start Christmas shopping? I like to start really early. Not really early. November? Is that really early? Like once November 1st hits, I'm on it. I'm already checking things off the list, grabbing gifts wherever I can. I just find it easier that way financially, to like spread it out, spread all the gift buying out over 8 weeks versus like the last 3 weeks before Christmas. I can't do it. I can't. I have a whole list. I have a process. Let me know though, when you guys start your Christmas shopping, do you Christmas shop? Do you even celebrate Christmas? Because some people don't. I want to know, what are the traditions? What are we doing? All right, so we have the next update 4 days later. Now we're at November 4th. Since the last talk she had with my husband, she told my father-in-law and mother-in-law about the incident. The way she portrayed it was that I am upset with her and she doesn't know why, and that she apologized to my husband about the car and she simply asked us during dinner if we are okay, and that I suddenly stood up and left the table without saying anything. Of course she did. Obviously, that's a complete lie, but thankfully my husband told both my father-in-law and mother-in-law exactly what happened, and they both agreed that Haley was out of line and that she should indeed at least send a text to check in. And they did tell her this, but she is refusing to do it. Since that day, I haven't received anything from her, except today, she sent me a private text about an event I am working on, telling me about someone who is attending. Obviously, she wants to continue life like nothing happened. So this is where I am at now. Number one, I either send a thumbs up and moving forward, I will have minimal engagement with her. Or number two, send a text that mainly says, I know you don't want to reach out. I decided to initiate to clear the air. I don't appreciate when you treat my husband like crap. So when it happens in front of me in the future, I will always get pissed off. And I think it was rude to ask us to leave the table in front of your boyfriend. And if you think that's okay, then that's your prerogative. But it will definitely mean that I have to change my relationship with you. So what do you guys think? I am so tired of this whole thing. See, that depends on the person. Some people prefer no confrontation. They would rather move on. They don't even want to deal with it. And they'll just send a thumbs up and pretend nothing ever happened. And then there's other people who can't do that. I think it depends on the situation for me, but I would say I'm like, no, we got to talk about this. Let's see what she ended up doing, because obviously we can't give her any advice on that. She posted the next day. Guys, she just texted me this. Hi, OP. I'm sensing there's been a miscommunication. I spoke to my brother / your husband and explained it when I was in the country, but I guess it wasn't clear. That evening at dinner, what I was trying to tell you and your husband is that if you are feeling tired, please don't feel forced to stay. It was so half-assed, I can't. How should I respond? Honestly, I'm over this at this point. Like, this is so... I can't deal with people like that. But we have an update and it came the next day. Now we are at November 6th. I love that she's actually not responding until she gets advice from Reddit. Like, guys, what do I text back? Hilarious. Well, I finally lost my temper. Here we go. I've been waiting for this. Not sure how bad I made it, but well, it is what it is. So apparently her original message was longer. I initially only peeked at it from the notifications. So here is the whole message. All right, so she repeats, if you're tired, don't feel forced to stay, that whole part. I was feeling bad because it seemed that you guys weren't having fun. I understand that it was misunderstood in a different way, and I just want you to know that my intentions were good and coming from a kind place. Me and my brother will not always agree on things, and we may get into arguments, but they are never serious and we quickly figure them out. I hope you don't misunderstand this as well. Happy to speak more if you want, because I don't want there to be any misunderstandings or resentment. I'm just rolling my eyes at that for now. Here's what I replied. Hey, if you're going to chalk this all up as a misunderstanding from my end, then I don't know what to tell you. Here's the actual timeline. She's pissed. Number 1, you berate my husband in front of me and someone that we just met. I bite my tongue from saying anything respecting that boyfriend is there and not wanting to cause a scene and make you look bad. Even your boyfriend was feeling uncomfortable and was trying to lighten the mood. Twice he said, "It's okay, I'm enjoying this conversation." You ended that car ride by making it a scene yourself and leaving the car. Number 2, I witnessed my husband upset. I am upset, but we decided to push through and go inside just for you. Number 3, we are upset at the table. You notice this. You ask him if we are okay. He says, yes, we are just hungry and tired. You decide to tell him that if we don't want to be here, you don't want to force us and we can leave in front of everyone. He says, no, it's fine. You say this a second time, adding that we are all here to have fun and you don't want us killing the vibe. He says, it's fine. You say it a third time and I decide to interject and ask what you're saying. And you say, if you guys don't want to be here, you can leave. Again, everyone is listening. So we leave. If you think all of this only warrants a text telling me that I misunderstood 2 weeks later, then okay, I understand. Thumbs up. Gotta end with that thumbs up. She wrote back saying, OP, let me be clear. Do not insert yourself between me and my brother, period. It is between me and him and has nothing to do with you. We are working out our issues. Don't make it an issue between me and you. That is a line. Oh. OP wrote back saying, you berated my husband in front of me. You asked me to leave. She wrote back saying, I told you what I meant. Choose to believe what you want. I'm trying to be nice and honest with you. You want to continue and make it a problem. OP wrote back saying, you disrespected me and I'm making it a problem. I'm done with this conversation. Good luck. I then block her for like half an hour. I unblocked her after and I wrote this. Haley, let me be clear. I have every right to be upset and even intervene when anyone treats my husband poorly. And when someone disrespects me and tells me that I can either change my mood or leave the table, I expect an apology, not blame shifting that I misunderstood. Otherwise, I'm not interested in engaging in a conversation with you, period. That is a line. She didn't respond. No idea how this is going to play out. And honestly, I don't care if I messed things up. All right, let's see what people are now saying. Someone commented and said, what does your husband think of what's going on? Like, would he be willing to go low contact with her? Or is he letting you two figure it out on your own? OOP responded and said he's talking to her one-on-one and trying to explain my perspective and she doesn't want to understand. He told her all the things I said in my messages, but he's not a good communicator, so she keeps twisting his words and manipulating and then he loses track. He has ADHD, so it's hard for him to catch the flaws in her logic and call her out on the spot. He agrees with me not engaging with her until she properly apologizes. Next comment, why do you care what anyone else thinks? You're choosing to keep this drama in your life at this point. Okay, so we have opposite perspective. You know she isn't going to apologize because she had weeks to do so, and she's still just trying to tap dance her way away from accountability. If she does decide to apologize, she has your husband's number, and she also presumably knows where you live. You can quite easily block her, and you can quite easily repeat what I just said to anyone who does say that you've made it impossible for her to apologize by blocking her. At this point, you either put a stop to this or admit that you're enjoying the drama, as I see no other reason to maintain contact with someone with whom you cannot have a meaningful conversation and who will never take any accountability. Preach. OOP said, it's not what everyone else thinks. Narcissists use a tactic called smear campaigns to get their way, which is basically convincing everyone involved that I'm the villain and she's not the villain. It matters in this context because she's my husband's sister, not a random friend that I can easily cut off. She is involved in my husband's entire family, which affects me long term. Yeah, like she's gonna be around for the rest of your lives, for sure. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy.